Hearing of the Senate Budget Committee to order, and welcome my distinguished ranking member, Senator Grassley. We're going to begin with opening remarks by myself and then Ranking Member Grassley and then Senator Graham, at whose request this hearing is taking place. So let me start by thanking Senator Graham and his staff for their partnership on today's hearing, and thank Ranking Member Grassley for his blessing of this effort. Today's bipartisan hearing looks at transitioning away from fossil fuels, in my view, an economic, national security, and climate imperative, in a way that effectively seizes opportunities and addresses challenges. The auto industry is a major economic engine, as Senator Stabenow, who is here, will be the first to argue. In 2023, the global auto market was valued at $4 trillion. Of which the U.S. accounted for a bit less than 17%. Two U.S. automakers, Ford and GM, are among the world's 5 largest automakers. Foreign companies operate assembly plants in the U.S. Senator Graham is attentive to the BMW plant that operates in his home state. Whenever we go do the Munich Security Conference, he's sure to check in with the BMW folks to make sure they keep building in South Carolina. Motor vehicles and parts were America's second largest export, and the auto market could increase to over $6 trillion by 2031. So we want to be a part of that action. To grow U.S. auto workers' share of this growing pie, we need to understand and respond to this global market. So here's where we are. Globally, 20% of vehicles sold in 2023 around the world were electric, 20%. In China, which is the world's largest auto market, 33% of cars were electric. In Europe, 20% of vehicles sold were electric. And other major markets are racing to EVs. Between 2022 and 2023, electric car sales tripled in Brazil and more than quadrupled in Thailand. And I'd put into the record a article from the New York Times, which I've just now misplaced, but that points out how the Thai auto market has been lost to Japanese manufacturing, which used to control it, because they aren't producing the electric vehicles that the Thai market demands. So you got to have the vehicles people want to meet the market. Here it is. Thank you. Without objection, I will add that to the record. The writing is on the wall for us. Around the world, the future of personal transportation is electric, completely independent of whatever the United States decides to do. And that's great. First, it means more freedom from a global commodity whose price is manipulated by international petro-dictators. Over and over, American consumers suffer as the geopolitical designs of petro-dictators cause oil prices to soar. Real energy independence comes from independence from fossil fuel cartels. Going electric benefits Western democracies as oil and gas revenues fund many of our worst foreign adversaries. Look no further than the corrupt petro-tyrant Vladimir Putin. As we reduce our dependence on oil and gas, we diminish our foreign adversaries' ability to bully and corrupt. Senator Graham and I wrote in a 2021 op-ed published in Time magazine, if you could wave a magic wand and transition the world away from fossil fuels, Americans would instantly be safer. And without objection, I ask that that be made a part of the record. As the driver and owner of 2 Chevy Bolts, I'll also add, they're just better cars. They're quieter, faster, and more fun to drive. They don't have tailpipe emissions stinking up highways and neighborhoods. Repair and maintenance costs are nearly non-existent. No oil changes, 1/10 the number of parts to break or fail, no expensive, dangerous, smelly gasoline. In emergencies, EV fleets can even provide backup power to families when the grid goes down. And smart EV chargers can help shave dangerous load peaks for electric utilities if we make the needed small investments in the required infrastructure. And of course, yes, electric vehicles dramatically reduce carbon pollution in the transportation sector, currently the largest source of fossil fuel emissions in the U.S. The more we reduce carbon pollution, the better our chances of avoiding the dire systemic climate-related economic risks we've discussed in this committee over the last 18 months. It may be too late to save Florida's property insurance market, but there are plenty of other risks we'd be wise to avoid and fools to stumble into. Electrifying the transportation sector presents a tremendous economic opportunity. Automakers get the message that people want EVs, and they are responding. Since 2017, they have, along with their battery partners, invested $125 billion in electrification. 20 states have or will have EV production or assembly of battery facilities. For some reason, Tesla's taking a hit, but other makers are seeing surging sales year over year. Ford EV sales increased 86% from the first quarter of 2023 to the first quarter of 2024. Rivian sales jumped 59% over the same period. So how do we position our auto industry and our nation for that economic opportunity and for global competitiveness? As our economy electrifies, it needs to be supported by a 21st, not a 20th century grid. The grid will need to handle increased demand from electric vehicles, from heating and cooling, from manufacturing, from hydrogen electrolyzing, and from energy-gobbling data centers. To meet this demand with clean power requires new and upgraded transmission to deliver that power to consumers. That means smart reforms to our cumbersome and antiquated permitting process. Domestic supply chain investments must accelerate. Look at China. 15 years ago, China saw the value of electric vehicles and batteries and began investing. And now it dominates critical mineral and battery manufacturing markets. Let's learn the servitude lessons from our fossil fuel dependence and from our lost manufacturing capacity. Let's swiftly counter this emerging geopolitical risk with smart investment and take back our economic dominance in clean energy products. We must also find a way to reconcile the surging EV market with the Highway Trust Fund that provides 80% of federal highway spending, with a majority of its revenue from federal gas taxes. The bipartisan infrastructure law, which most recently replenished the fund, sunsets in just 2 years. The clock is ticking on highway infrastructure funding. To my mind, this is a morning in America moment. Freedom from dependence on petro-dictators. Opportunity to reclaim from China clean energy leadership. Better, safer products for American consumers with more money in their pockets. Cleaner air to breathe along highways and neighborhood streets, and an important step forward on our pathway to climate safety. What's not to love if we do this right? Thank you again to Senator Graham for this hearing. I look forward to the conversation.